Hello, friends, fellow countrymen and women. It's a new day here. Is it a new dawn? Is it a day of hope? Yes, it is. It's a day of realization and a day of dreams. It's the Radio Man's time on radio. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. I am Edmund Obilo. Good morning and welcome. Now, the President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, on Wednesday, 18 August 2021, approved the review of 368 grazing sites in 25 states of the Federation to determine the level of encroachment, stakeholders' engagement, and sensitization, as recommended by a committee he set up to look into the matter. The committee, chaired by his Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, also called for the production of maps and geo-mapping of sites, analysis of findings, and report preparation, as well as design of appropriate communication and grazing reserves and operations. President Buhari directed the review be handled with speed to ensure that the grazing reserves are restored to stem the disturbing herders farmers crisis that has engulfed the Nigerian state. Who are the members of the committee? They include the governor of Kebbi State and the vice chairman National Food Security Council. I'm talking about Abubakar Bagudu. Ebonyi State Governor is also part of the committee. Suleiman Adamu, Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, is also there. Suleiman Adamu is the Minister of Water Resources, while the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development is Sabo Nanunu. Remember that in June this year, during a television interview, Buhari directed the recovery of designated grazing routes of the First Republic. Let's go back to that interview.
You want me to contradict my Attorney General? Okay. What I did was ask them to go and dig the Gazette of First Republic when people were very loose. There's cattle routes and grazing area. Cattle routes where when they are moving up country, north to south or east to west, they have to go through there. If you allow your cattle to stray into any farmer's farm, you are arrested. The farmer is invited to submit his claims. The alkali or the judge will say, oh, I pay. If you can't, the cattle is sold. And if there is any balance, you are given. And people are behaving themselves. And in the grazing areas, they built earth dams, put windmills, in some places even veterinary departments, so that the herders are limited. Their route is known, their grazing area is known. If they have any problem from the locality is known. But I'm telling you, this rushing to the center, people just, I think. So I asked for the Gazette, to make sure that those who encroached on these cattle routes and grazing areas will be dispossessed, and try to bring some order back into the cattle areas. The problem is trying to understand the culture of the cattle rearers. There is a cultural distance between the chiefs and the Fulanis. So the governor of Benue said, I'm not disciplining the cattle rearers because I'm one of them. I cannot refuse to say I'm not one of them, but he's been very unfair to me. And I told him that the Nigerian cattle rearer was not carrying anything more than a stick, sometimes with a machete to cut some trees and give it to anymore. But those sophisticated ones, they are good with AK-47. So from all the Sahel areas, people rush to Nigeria, and Fulani from Mauritania or from Central Africa look the same. So they think they are Nigerian ones. And I assure you that we are trying to resuscitate these cattle routes, grazing areas, and make them accountable.
Did you listen to the president attentively? Are you analyzing the thoughts of the president? Are you following the line of his argument? He brought the African situation into his analysis. Fulani herdsmen from Mauritania and other West African countries coming into Nigeria with AK-47. So he differentiated between the Fulani coming in from outside and the Fulani at home. Let's do more breakdown of what the issues are with regard to the herdsman crisis in Nigeria. Remember that herders in the past moved their cattle through the routes to different parts of the country. This means that the president fully backs open grazing, a concept opposed by the 17 governors of southern states. Buhari's support for open grazing is not in doubt. At the 2011 presidential debate, he spoke in favor of open grazing. Did we listen to him? As I made the point, that at the 2011 presidential debate, Buhari spoke in favor of open grazing. Perhaps Nigerians did not take note of it. At the time, he was the presidential candidate of the Congress for Progressive Change. So why are you surprised that when he became president, he's insisting on open grazing? Didn't he alert you? He alerted you in 2011 in a presidential debate.
General Muhammadu Buhari.
Yep.
The same question, please.
Well, in the CPC manifesto, we are considering local policy, neighborhood committees. It's on the ground that in every local government there is a security committee. This comprises of the local cultural leadership, the police, and of course, chairman of the local government or his secretary. Now, this must be empowered. The question of the plateau is the question of the problem of virtually nomads and stagnant farmers. In the old north, where people know, there are cattle routes, there are grazing areas with infrastructure. All those now have gone. And these nomads are part of Nigerians. And they are what they are, the nomads. They have no permanent abode. They move around north to south, east to west throughout the country. So it is good to make sure that the old policing is done.
Thank you.
And that will bring peace.
Thank you.
Buhari in 2011 says it is good the old policy is done to bring peace. The old policy he talks about is the opening of grazing routes. He announced that in 2011. He did not win the election. Jonathan did. Now this brings us to the June 12 broadcast of the president, where he explained the reason for the conflict between farmers and herdsmen.
Fellow Nigerians, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we know that there exists a strong correlation between economic inequality and insecurity. When economic inequality rises, insecurity rises. But when we actively reduce inequality through investments in social and hard infrastructure, insecurity reduces. The disturbing increase in rates of kidnapping, banditry, and other criminal activities can be attributed to the decades of neglect and corruption in social investment, infrastructure development, education, and healthcare. This issue is further compounded by the impact of our changing climate and ecology. The ECOWAS and Sahel regions, starting from Chad all the way to Mali, are also experiencing adverse impacts of drought and desertification, which have triggered waves of human displacement, conflicts between farmers and herdsmen, terrorism, and a fundamental socio-economic change to our way of life. These issues are regional and not unique to Nigeria alone. The problems call for increased regional and international cooperation in developing a sustainable solution. As chairman of ECOWAS, I will be hosting a regional security summit of heads of states in the Sahel to develop a joint strategy to continue our efforts in addressing these issues.
The point the president is making is that Nigeria must go back to the past to understand where the problem started from. And the president is not hiding his thought on the subject matter. Remember, the governors of 17 southern states held a meeting in Asaba, Delta State on Tuesday, 11th May 2021 in response to the state of insecurity in Nigeria. The meeting focused on agitations for restructuring and prospect for interstate collaboration and partnerships. In the communique released at the end of the meeting, the governors affirmed that the peoples of southern Nigeria remain committed to the unity of the country on the basis of justice, fairness, and equity. So what are the governors saying? Are they saying in the absence of justice, fairness, and equity, they are not committed to the unity of Nigeria? The governors envisage a Nigeria where peoples coexist peacefully to attain shared goals for economic development and prosperity. They observe that the incursion of armed herders, criminals, and bandits into the southern part of the country presents a severe security challenge that denies citizens the liberty to carry on productive activities, leading to food shortages and insecurity. By this, the meeting resolved that open grazing of cattle be banned across southern Nigeria. Also banned is the movement of cattle by foot to the south. This is to forestall conflicts between migrating herders and local populations in the south. The governors also advised the federal government to support states willing to develop alternative and modern livestock management systems. By Buhari's re-entrant into the debate, the message becomes clearer. Remember, by Buhari's re-entrant into the debate, the message becomes clearer. Remember, while taking on Garba Shehu, the governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, reveals that Garba's statement defending Buhari's position represents certain elements bent on taking the ancestral lands of other people to settle their kinsmen, including the gun-wielding killer headsmen and their families. So it's Akeredolu accusing Buhari clearly that Buhari wants to grab lands, but in this case, perhaps he doesn't have the energy to face Akeredolu, so he is taking on Garba Shehu. Akeredolu defines it as a comprehensive plan for land grabbing, a precursor to internal colonialism. Is that what the governors are accusing Buhari of planning? This time, I am trying to read between the lines, making interpretations of time, events, and places, including persons. Akeredolu represents the governors of southern Nigeria. Look at this. Since we've confirmed that Garba speaks for Buhari, can I conclude from Akeredolu's thesis that Buhari is leading the charge to help gun-wielding herdsmen to internally colonize the south of Nigeria? Should we take the governors seriously? Or we should listen more to the president? Are we in the middle of this crisis? What is it that the political class knows that we don't know? Is it fair to say that Buhari has ulterior motive? Is Akeredolu's accusation of Garba true? What is true? Is this what the governor of Ebonyi State, David Umahi, talks about when he suggests that certain persons in high places are sabotaging efforts to end open grazing in Nigeria?
Areas in the north where there are cattle routes, where they move constitutionally from one point to the other. But in the south, there is no cattle route. And so for you to move from one point to the other, you have to move through farms. You have to move through, population, dense areas. And this is not very good. And that's what the southern governors and of course Southeast in particular are saying. Let's go back to our traditional method of relationship. We will no longer allow you to take your cattle from one local government to the other. And the implication is that these foreign headers also come in terms of, mobile headers with AK-47. So that is a source of conflict. So anybody that is saying that there should be no ban on this thing is, on the other hand, saying that, look, these killings will continue. And that's what gave birth to ESN. Whether we support it as governors, we don't. But the people tend to support it because of the foreign headers that pretend that they are raiding cattle and then they are killing. And in my own village, a white man was kidnapped in my village that's doing construction, by these foreign headers. And we've encouraged the federal government, let's treat this, cattle raiding as a business. Take money from the federation account and develop ranches where they are designated ranches, especially in the north. And the northern governors are willing, but it's been frustrated.
That's the governor of Ebonyi State speaking, David Umahi. But I thought David Umahi is part of Buhari's committee that made the new recommendation that has brought me back to this subject. What is the new recommendation? Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday, 18th August 2021, approved the review of 368 grazing sites in 25 states of the Federation to determine the level of encroachment, stakeholders' engagement, and sensitization, as recommended by a committee he set up to look into the matter. David Umahi is part of that committee. I'm trying to understand his position. However, now that the governors are speaking, the radio man is analyzing to make meanings of the desperation of the moment. Akeredolu says Garba, not Buhari, is a major supporter of the current pervasive anarchy in the land by aspiring to colonial fantasies. Colonial fantasies. So Akeredolu agrees with the philosophy called Fulanization. And you can then move it further, Islamization. But by the way, these so-called Fulanis coming from outside, how come they come with AK-47? What does that tell you about countries outside Nigeria? Countries in the Sahel Buhari mentioned Mauritania. There is Niger. There is Burkina Faso. There is Chad. Okay, we will look at the Sahel at some point. The duty of the radio man here is to take you to the different angles of the story, and you make your conclusion. And I will also help you by raising more questions to keep you going. You know, it's my role to raise questions. The reason I question everything, yes, is the radio man's time to raise more questions. Buhari spoke in 2011, warning us that if elected, he will open up grazing routes. He warned us in 2011. And in 2015, we voted him. Fine. Questions will arise from the new move by the president. Akeredolu swears that no inch of the space delineated and known currently as Southwest, and indeed the whole South, will be ceded to a band of invaders masquerading as herdsmen under any guise. So Akeredolu is saying they are not herdsmen in the true sense of the word. They are invaders. That's the point Akeredolu is making. Has the battle line been drawn? All right. I'll play you a song by Bob Nestor Marley, Buffalo Soldier. I will be back.
Buffalo soldier, dreadlock rasta. It was a buffalo soldier in the heart of America, stolen from Africa, brought to America.
Here is the list of excuses that will no longer be accepted.
I beg, give me your hotspot. I want my data, but this one too much.
Please, could you put your Wi-Fi on? I'm out of data and the recharge card seller has closed.
Oh, I would have recharged though, but I can't find my wallet.
Please, I've got cramps and I can't get up. Can you share your hotspots?
Oh no!
Don't know where my internet token is and I need to quickly buy data. Please, could you share your hotspot till I find it?
Hey, Jumbo, I will buy data, but that recharge card seller need to ever get change. How good one?
Now there's really no excuse to ever be out of data with Glow Borrow Me Data. Dial *321# to borrow data now and pay later.
I beg, I will share your hotspot. This rain bahad. Make thunder no go fireman.
The largest data network, Glow, grandmasters of data.
Are you in need of a nice and comfortable, fully furnished hostel accommodation in the University of Ibadan? Or are you in search of a place for seminars and executive trainings? Look no further. Adebayo Akonde Hall is the go-to place for your lodging needs with a home away from home feel. Adebayo Akonde Hall is a 4-star hostel built in a serene environment with constant supply of electricity. It has fully furnished rooms that gives you great comfort at an affordable price. Adebayo Akonde Hall is located at Ajibode Extension, University of Ibadan. For inquiries and reservations, visit www.adebayohall.com or call 080-5699-8718 or 080-5699-8719 or 080-5699-8720. Adebayo Akonde Hall. Built for comfort. Built for you.
A school with a difference. Lead British International School, located in the tranquil area of Jericho, Ibadan, and the serene area of Grandpa, Abuja, was founded over 14 years ago.
Our mission is to equip future leaders by providing world-class educational and social experiences in a conducive learning environment with our core values of discipline, truthfulness, self-reliance, and creativity.
Our excellent school offers the best of the English and Nigerian curriculums. Lead British International School caters to the needs of children from 3 months old to 17 years. We have state-of-the-art boarding and day facilities. Entrance exams into all classes is ongoing every Thursday at the school premises located at Block 5, 7 and 8, Akiola Magistrate, Jericho, Ibadan.
Application forms are on sale at 10,000 Naira. For further inquiries, contact 0808 187 5598 or 0803 384-2368.
Lead British International School, equipping future leaders.
Used to tell me after dinner time story how they used to chop life at yo and bear parties. Chicken curry sauce, my mom is the boss. You can never have enough of party to love. But these days all we see is just concoction. Like we got smacked in the head and got concussion. No more daily treats, no more Sunday best. Is this what you eat? My God, why settle for less? It's night time, everybody gotta live it up. Maggie chickens in the kitchen, everybody season up. Mouth water and lips smacking, finger licking. Didn't I tell you every meal tastes like chicken? Spice up every meal, don't let them taste the same. Cause Maggie chicken is making chicken great again. Just know one thing, just know I really, really love it when you cook with Maggie chicken. Maggie chicken now comes in powder.
With Maggie, cook the difference.
Yes, still breaking it down. Remember, the governors are speaking, and they are governors from southern Nigeria. But the idea of open grazing has the support of some northern governors. The Katsina state government, through the special advisor to the governor on livestock and grazing reserves, Dr. Lawal Bagiwa, says the state has reclaimed over 2,000 kilometers of cattle routes across the state, and these were routes that were marked out by beacons. The government has also earmarked and gazetted 123,000 hectares of land for grazing reserves. Thus in Katsina, Buhari is from Katsina State. In Bauchi State, the government has gazetted Maladuba, Danvisa, Boki, Gambara, and Umala Forest as grazing reserves. Note that in October 2020, the government of Bauchi State released a white paper on the report of the Administrative Committee of Inquiry into a land dispute between farmers and herders in Miswa local government area. The government in the white paper revoked all land illegally acquired by farmers and other persons and re-established them as grazing reserves. So Buhari's argument is making sense. Governors are implementing it in the north. I have given an example of Katsina and Bauchi State. The point of note here is that farmers and nomads are also clashing in the core north over grazing lands. That's one point you should take away. That the clash is not only in the south, they are also fighting in the north. So the question then comes, how do we put the argument, this Fulanization argument, how do we explain it? Because the same battle is intensifying in the north. In fact, the herders are even more aggressive in the north. The killings in Katsina cannot be compared to the killings in any state of the south. Okay. Look at this. In Yobe State, Governor Mai Malabuni has inaugurated a committee chaired by the Deputy Governor, Idibade Gubana, to examine issues connected to farmers' headers crisis. Meanwhile, in the same Yobe State, the chairman of Gushba local government area, Alhaji Dala Mala, says he has recovered about 31 international cattle routes in his domain. International cattle routes. So what it simply means is there are international cattle routes, state cattle routes, and local government cattle routes. So there are routes Fulani herdsmen from other countries take into Nigeria. Then when they come into Nigeria, let's assume they're coming into Borno State. Then there are cattle routes in Borno State that will now take them to Yobe State. Within Borno, there are routes within Borno that the cattle herders also take to connect to grazing reserves. Buhari is taking us way back into time. The president is saying, you have to understand your past to solve the problems of today. Therefore, we must go back to the past. But questions arise. Do you mean anybody can just walk into Nigeria because he's a herdsman and he just keeps moving and nobody can question him? So the borders are open, moving at your own time. He's a Fulani herdsman. He's a nomad. He's free. That's the point Buhari is also making. So what is the essence of the borders? Why do you have immigration service? These are points the president, or questions the president, should answer. Yes, I have made the point that farmers and nomads are also fighting in the core north over farmlands. I was going through Daily Trust newspaper. In Yobe State, Aliyu Mai Bindiga, the chairman Farmers Association, reveals that his members lost over 70% of their produce to herders' invasion. He says herders will invade our farms, and whenever we ask for reasons, they accuse us of encroaching on their grazing reserves. Meanwhile, the Niger State government differs with the federal government on the opening of old grazing routes, insisting that ranching and grazing reserves are the best options. The government indicates that the level of development in Niger State makes it hard to reopen routes that have been taken over by new developments like roads and houses. That's one argument from Niger State. Before I go too far, I want to know if you are on with me, if you are following the radio man, and what do you think about the issues? Let's drive together. 080-915-51055, 080-569-98678. You can call the radio station on 070-694-930-00. Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, this is Ambassador Mitop on the line. Yeah,
Hey,
thank you very much for the. Yes, thank you very much for the analysis. I don't believe we can solve this issue when our president cannot make a proper, if we can listen to the record you play. I mean, he said he's one of them. You don't dispute that. Fine. But what is the main action?
Hello, Babatunde, are you there? Hello. All right, Babatunde is not there. So who's the next person on the line? Remember, the numbers are 080915-51025. Good morning.
This is Ayukoto. I'm calling from Lera.
Good to hear
you. Now that you have so know that Buhari told us 1 or 2 times that whenever he's elected to office, he opened up groceries. This is so that we are the architect of our calamity. So why do we need to be blaming Mr. President? He has told us before. So we just need to be managing him because he has told us everything he wants to do.
Thank you. Yes, he told us in 2011 he lost that election to Goodluck Jonathan. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
My name is Mr. Fadira.
Mr. Fadira, good to hear you.
Good morning, sir. Sir, I want to put a question to you, and I want you to answer it for me. Because the President Muhammadu Buhari don't have any program for we Nigerians except cattle or cows? That is my question. Good morning.
Okay, to answer it, Buhari just launched the rail line, Lagos to Ibadan. So that's a program. I hope I've answered your question. Buhari is constructing roads. But it seems the headers crisis is the prominent discourse in Buhari's time. But it was there during Jonathan's time. Let's not forget that. It was even there during Obasanjo's time. So one thing I'll be doing in subsequent edition is to take you back. Because we easily forget. This issue has always been there. Just that it's escalating by the day. Hello. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Radio Man.
Good morning.
This is John Olarewaju from Agbowo.
John Olarewaju is here.
Thank you, my brother. I like what you just said, that the problem has been there before, even right from the day of Obasanjo, because you could remember vividly that Mr. President there, he was a general. He has yet to be a Mr. President there. He came to Oyo State to meet Babala Madeshini. So you could remember the kind of behavior at that time that Mr. President behaved to the governor of Oyo State there. But even you remember vividly that the reply, the former governor, Madeshini, replied to Baba Buhari there, that you are a elder statesman. As elder statesman, you're supposed to show yourself as a Nigerian because you have already been head of state before. And he even told Mr. President, Baba Buhari then, as if he wants to cite one ethnic group than other. And the same thing to me is what Mr. President is playing now. That if you are saying, you could remember the statement from AGF Malami, that when you talk about motor spare parts, comparing with the Ruga or whatever, you could remember also that they have already come with different systems. They came with the Ruga, they now came with another thing now. To me, they is suspicious about this issue of giving land to the Fulani issue. Though it might happen in the north, but you must know that the north even also has different ethnic groups in which some of them are not Fulani, and they will not allow them, and they will not allow themselves, they will not allow Fulani to take their land. The same thing that happens out here. As a leader that loves Nigeria, what you need to do is to listen to the ranchers. You remember what the autumn said to him, that look, it's like some Fulani having a meeting in Nasarawa that they want to take the land, all the land in Nigeria, that it belongs to them. So as the elder statesman, as a president, as a leader, as a father, what you need to do is to make a program, have a meeting with the governors and the stakeholders in Nigeria, that how can we sort this thing out? But if you are insisting or imposing that compulsory they must give it land to them, I think this is a no-go area, and it's not going to be easy, because remember what is going on in Palestine and Israel is a fight of land. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you. Now, he has made some solid points. In fact, he raised the point of many tribal groups in northern Nigeria. You know, we tend to conclude that the north is just about Hausa Fulani. It's not true. It's not true. Even if you go to Bauchi, you have Christians. You have tribes, Nupe. Like Niger State is not Babangida is not a Fulani man. You know, we tend to make that conclusion. You know, like I said at the point, Buhari is the first Fulani man in recent time to govern Nigeria. Okay, Murtala Mohammed tried, it was just 6 months. Let's leave Ahmadu Bello out of it. He was the premier of the northern region. But Yakubu Gowon governed Nigeria for almost 9 years. Yakubu Gowon is not a Fulani man. So sometimes when I hear about the Fulani dominance, I said no. Yakubu Gowon was not a Fulani man. He was a northern Christian from Plateau State. Babangida came, he's not a Fulani man. So I think I'm advising that if you are so keen about the Nigerian question, begin to do your research. How many tribes are in the north? Look at Kaduna. There's constant war in Kaduna. Kaduna is not dominated by Fulanis. Fulanis are even minority in Kaduna. But somehow, the Fulani question has been overtly projected that I sometimes feel we are giving the Fulani the powers they don't have. So, we are encountering history, interrogating issues, and Fumibi Onolakbo is here. He's going to hang out with me to the end of the show. Fumibi, it's good to have you on the show again.
Yeah, Edmund Obilo, is really good to be with you in studio again. And it's just like you always say, that it's a time of sober reflection on a lot of issues at the moment. So we should, I think, pay attention to the discourse and find meaning to the politics at the moment so that we can marshal a way out of the whole issues. Thank you very much. It's beautiful to be here this morning.
What do you think about Buhari's opinion on open grazing?
Yeah, I am, for one, an advocate of the fact that grazing should be a private business and that people should not, as much as they could engage the financial institution of the state, as much as they could engage governmental institution, grazing should, just like an Igbo man in Aba is doing his business, just like a meat seller in Ibadan is doing his business, an herdsman is also doing his business by grazing. So as much as they would want to do their business within the confines of the state, they must not be an outlaw and they must be governed by the laws of the state.
Does it appear that Buhari is making it a natural right of the Fulani to move around? Freedom. Is that what Buhari is saying?
The point is that the Nigerian state, we must understand, that is fragile. So interest contests, interest competes. I think you rolled out a whole lot of things about the fact before election, which Nigerians don't pay attention to. Days are leading to 2023. Emotions will start rising. Sentiment will rise. We'll go into election with that mindedness and we'll go make uninformed decision. But the point is, you saw how the pattern, you saw his pattern of discourse over time. And many that even lived when he was military ruler in the country could attest to the fact that he had always projected that side of the country. You understand? So it's more of tribal politics, is more of people competing, contesting for a space within the Nigerian governance system. But the point is this. As much as this is going on, we then find similarities with other countries that are failing to. You understand? That's where we see failure of the elite class to mobilize interest, to reduce the tension, to mobilize interest into what is presentable and attainable for all. Remember, Nigeria is still a multinational entity. So the clamor for can we really, I'm not, a whole lot of people may really not be interested. You mentioned the fact that Castina is going about how to work out grazing routes, how to make it good for the people, because those are their people. You understand? So Bauchi is also going the same route. You understand? So the point of making that a federating issue will be the major concern now.
Questions will arise, but that will come after this break. Don't go away.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Splash FM 105.5.
See, I really love to live in a very secure estate with CCTV cameras everywhere. Good power, good water, good roads, classy and neat environment, very nice structures, very spacious and well serviced.
Is it not too much?
No, it's perfect. Dollar Construction could make your dreams come true. You can now live in comfort and grand style right here in the city of Ibadan. Introducing Dollar Estate, a modern-day estate with 105 exquisite units of houses located at Idishin, Jericho, Ibadan. Dollar Estate Ibadan has an independent source of 3 megawatts of hydro, 500 kVA solar, gas turbine, 63 points of CCTV cameras, 24-hour bikes patrol, tarred roads, water plant system, and many other features. For more information and inquiries, call 0809 082 1450 or 0809 082 1451. You can also visit www.dollarconstruction.com.ng. Dollar Estates. It's like paradise on earth.
ẹ̀yin ará lọ́kùnrin lóbìnrin àmúwá fún yín láti iléeṣẹ́ tó jẹ́ aṣáájú nínú ṣíṣe máṣíìnì alùpùpù lágbàáyé ẹ̀mí kò ṣeé dádúró ti nàìjà Hero Hunter. máṣíìnì alùpùpù Hero Hunter 100 pẹ̀lú ìjókòó gígùn tó tún tẹ́jú ààyè ìgbẹ́rù tó fẹ̀ àti ẹ́ńjìnì alágbára 100cc tó tún wá pẹ̀lú warranty onídìíwọ̀n olóṣù 12 Visco engine oil oní lítà 24 èyí tí yóò mú ọ tọ́jú ju ẹgbẹ̀rún-lọ́nà-ogójì náírà lọ. fún ìgbà díẹ̀ ni o fún ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé ẹ pè làfẹ́ 0800 800 8080. Hero Hunter máṣíìnì alùpùpù tó lálòtọ́ tó ṣe é gbára lé.
It's the Mega Shopping Festival. LifeMate is offering a discount on every item you purchase. It's amazing wares for amazing prices. Starting from the 10th of August to the 28th of August. For more information, please visit elifemate.com or call 0701 731 5772 or 081 2000 6000. Hurry now. The promo ends in a week. Terms and conditions apply. LifeMate, your LifeMate forever.
See, used to tell me after dinner time story how they used to chop life at your one bad parties. Chicken curry sauce, my mom is the boss. You can never have enough of party to love. But these days, all we see is just concoction. Like we got smacked in the head and got concussion. No more daily treats, no more Sunday best. Is this what you eat? My God, why settle for less? It's night time, everybody gotta live it up. Maggie chickens in the kitchen, everybody season up. Mouth water, then lips smacking, finger licking. Didn't I tell you every meal tastes like chicken? Spice up every meal, don't let them taste the same. Cause Maggie chicken is making chicken great again. Just know one thing, just know I really, really love it. When you cook with Maggie chicken. Maggie chicken now comes in powder.
With Maggie, cook the difference.
We're kicking some folks out of the market this season.
I tell you, okay, everyone else in this bed with me, they're losers.
We're the station that beats all the competition. And we'll prove it as soon as we hear any competition.
105.5 Splash.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
What are the questions arising from the analysis so far? Section 2 of the Land Use Act, the law governing land matters in the country, vests the administration and control of lands in a given state in the hands of the governor of the state. Since governors in the south and parts of the Middle Belt have outlawed open grazing in their respective states, on which land does the federal government plan to reopen grazing routes? Another question is this. Grazing is not under the exclusive and concurrent legislative list, but under the residual legislative list, thus giving powers to the state on grazing. Considering this, how does Buhari intend to achieve his ambition? Is it not true that the federal government can only make grazing laws and control same as it concerns the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and federal lands within the states, but not on state government lands as distributed under the Land Use Act? Does the intention of the federal government not infringe on the autonomy of states and powers of governors? Does it not violate Nigerian federalism? Does the 1965 Grazing Reserve Law, being relied on by Buhari, provide for grazing routes in the south? Has the law not been overtaken by Nigeria's present constitutional arrangement? Hello. Is this a parochial and sectional ambition? Does Buhari's argument reflect the promise he made to Nigerians in his acceptance speech after winning the 2015 election? So let's go back to 2015. Before he was sworn in, he accepted victory. And here is what Buhari said.
Democracy and the rule of law will be established in the land. Let us put the past, especially the recent past, behind us. We must forget our old battles and past grievances and learn to forge ahead. I assure you that our government is one that will listen to and embrace all. I pledge myself and our incoming administration to just and principled governance. There shall be no bias against or favoritism for any Nigerian based on ethnicity, religion, region, gender, or social status. I pledge myself and the government to the rule of law, in which none shall be so above the law that they are not subject to its dictates, and none shall be so below it that they are not avail of its protection. You shall be able to go to bed knowing that you are safe and that your constitutional rights remain in safe hands. You shall be able to voice your opinion without fear of reprisal or victimization. My love and concern for this nation and what I desire for it extend to all, even to those who do not like us or our politics. You are all my people. I treat one of you as my own. I shall work for those who voted for me, as well as those who voted against me, and even for those who did not vote at all. We all live under one name as one nation. We are all Nigerians.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Yes, DG Yesufo is here. He's also hanging out with me to the end of the show. DG, good to have you on State Affairs again.
Good morning, Edmund. Good morning, Ibadan, and everybody listening to us.
That's Buhari in 2015.
Yes.
How do you feel?
Well, must thank the radio man for helping us to dig out this speech because owing to human deficiencies, we have forgotten what he had said. But thank you for recording that and reminding us what he said in 2015, in 2021. Okay, we can see that there's a lot of difference between what he said then, now, and what he's doing right now.
Okay, what are the differences you noticed?
Yeah, so he said that he wants, that he's going to give freedom to people to share their opinions, to state their minds. You know, that he's going to give freedom of speech, which is actually a standard worldwide, you know. But apparently right now, people are finding it difficult to express their opinion.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we thank God we have the social media, but we have seen what has happened to Twitter. You know, so if we can ban Twitter, that means somebody is afraid of what people are saying or how people are expressing their opinions. You know, so Twitter is an example of Buhari reneging on his promise. Then, you know, he also talked about, that he wants Nigerians to be Nigerians. You know, he's not going to give preference to any section of the country. You know, he said that, just in this speech, he said that, yes, those including is going to benefit those who voted him, those who didn't vote for him, and those who didn't vote at all. You know, but apparently now we're beginning to see something else entirely. When I was coming, you played the speech, or you read the speech of the governors, and they were saying some things about, they mentioned justice, that they want justice, in the system. We're not saying these things. You know, we're beginning, what we're seeing, or the attitude of the government is that we're seeing like some preferential preferences given to a section of the country, and it's so sad.
Fumibi, you listened to the president.
Yes, sir.
What do you think?
Just not far away from what he just said now. That in all intent, we've seen the contrast of what he sworn to, what he pledged to. We've seen a reduction in the freedom of speech. We've seen several unconstitutional things being done in the life of this administration, and we are gradually seeing more of a polarized Nigeria, that it will take a deliberate action of subsequent administration to undo what the present government is doing. And I think elections are coming. A whole lot of people are not really excited about that, the fact of election. But it's on record now that we've seen Nigeria live to see all that Buhari or President Buhari have to give to us.
Okay, Boston, can we listen to that speech again? Then we'll open the lines and expand the conversation.
Democracy and the rule of law will be established in the land. Let us put the past, especially the recent past, behind us. We must forget our old battles and past grievances and learn to forge ahead. I assure you that our government is one that will listen to and embrace all. I pledge myself and our incoming administration to just and principled governance. There shall be no bias against or favoritism for any Nigerian based on ethnicity, religion, region, gender, or social status. I pledge myself and the government to the rule of law, in which none shall be so above the law that they are not subject to its dictates, and none shall be so below it that they are not avail of its protection. You shall be able to go to bed knowing that you are safe and that your constitutional rights remain in safe hands. You shall be able to voice your opinion without fear of reprisal or victimization. My love and concern for this nation and what I desire for it extend to all, even to those who do not like us or our politics. You are all my people. I shall treat one of you as my own. I shall work for those who voted for me, as well as those who voted against me, and even for those who did not vote at all. We all live under one name as one nation. We are all Nigerians.
That's Buhari before he was sworn in as president in 2015. That is his acceptance speech after winning the election. What do you think about that? 08091551055, 08056998678. Call the radio station on 070-694-93000. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Come Sadu from US.
Sadu Imodagbe.
Hello?
I can hear you, Sadu.
Those were theory. If we are to score the president, from what is happening now, I cannot score more than 13. Thank you very much.
I like the way you hit the nail on the head. It excites me. Hello, can you hit the nail on the head again? Somebody, call the radio station. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. This is Balogun Sunday.
Balogun. All right.
Yeah, my own point is, during the COVID-19 era, then poultry farmers, they were protesting that police did not allow their chicken to be transported, and many of their chicken died. Then they stopped, they did everything, government did not do anything. But now, when it comes to the issue of ranching and cattle, the president is now showing to us that it belongs to one section and not for all. But then he said in his speech, then he said, and for everybody and nobody. Is that so? That's my question.
Thank you. Sanusi Ace Olamilekon says, President Muhammadu Buhari is a leopard and definitely can't change his spot. He is pro-Fulani. He showed that during Lam Adesina's tenure. And now, isn't it surprising? Hakim Yakin on Facebook says, state governors who are the chief landowners in their respective states should handle the issue of grazing reserves according to their peculiarities. Coming from Ajayi Gabriel Abiodun, Abiodun is saying that the observation of Buhari's administration about grazing will always generate problem to Nigeria. The idea is not welcomed. Bemini Obilaye on Facebook is saying Buhari's obsession with grazing roads in 2021 Nigeria says a lot about his mindset. Who is on the line? Say hello to the radio man.
Edmund Obilo, good morning.
Good
My
morning.
name is Dr. Mark Edmund.
Dr. Mark.
I listened to that speech, and honestly speaking, he said there will be no favoritism. He said Nigerians should be able to go to bed under his watch. He said Nigerians should have confidence that the constitution is in good hands. He said he's going to forget old grievances and move ahead. All of these things he has not done. And he said the constitution is in good hands. But consistently he keeps going against what the constitution says. We have a whole lot of rule of law that he said he will obey. He's not obeying any of them. So like somebody said, he will score him 20%. I think I will score him 8%. Because if you make statements and you virtually everything you said, you went against all of them. And that means, I don't know. Where we are now is as a result of inconsistency in government and their policies. And I want Nigerians to really be able to channel their strength towards getting better leaders. We have listened to people bamboozle us with all manner of things in the past. This Buhari who he says, I am for nobody, I am for everybody. But he's actually acting the opposite. I pray that God will help us in this country. We are not just near where we are supposed to be. We are taking one step forward and taking 10 steps backward. I pray that God will help Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mark. Tina Okogbe on Facebook says, with all this calamity in the country, Mr. President only talks about Ruga. Is cattle rearing for public benefit? The governors should not allow this. It's unfair to the masses. Okay, I want to draw your attention to another trend with regard to the Fulani herdsman question. And it's an interview that I'm bringing to you. In a write-up, Adobe Nkenkelonye narrates her experience working in the north-central zone of Nigeria in 2017. The Mambila Plateau, to be precise, is what we are looking at. At Gembu, in Saudana local government area, Adobe noted that the Mambila Plateau is a community of herdsmen and farmers who make their livelihood through food crop and livestock farming. She says the physical condition of the Mambila Plateau enables grazing and farming, but having farmers, herdsmen, and illegal sapphire miners in close proximity was for her a dark spot on this beautiful place and a sign of disaster. So let's bring in Adobe now to tell us what she saw in the Mambila Plateau. Adobe, you wrote in your recent article that while working in the north-central zone of Nigeria in 2017, you visited the Mambila Plateau. What kind of work takes Adobe to the Mambila Plateau? Do you think that the conflict in the Mambila is an economic conflict?
I think so.
Why do you think so?
It all boils down to people's ability to share livelihood resources, which is mostly tied to the availability of land. So for the farmer, he uses the land. For the Fulani herdsman, he needs the land. And for the sapphire miner, he needs the land. So these three livelihoods are all tied to the land, the natural resources. And as a result, where there isn't an understanding, there's bound to be conflict. And that's what you have. I think it's an economic conflict. I can't tie it to religion because most people in the Mambilas are Muslims. So we can't also now say it's a fight between the Muslim and the Christians. No, it could be tribal, but it's definitely not religious.
You said, and so it was, earlier in June 2017, the conflict between the Fulani and the Mambilas happened. The pictures of the slaughtering of the Fulani people and their cattle left to die slow, painful deaths was traumatizing. In your work, you state, arguably, hundreds of Fulanese were killed and over 20,000 cows were acclaimed to be killed or stolen. Houses and settlements belonging to the Fulanese were razed down. Then General Benjamin likened the carnage to that of the terrorist Boko Haram attack, and the Fulanese called it an ethnic cleansing. This is huge. Why are you telling this story?
It would give some insight and bring some balance into the ongoing discourse around the Fulani and the farmer crisis, especially with regards to the incidents in Benue State. What I find a lot is that people's perspectives or narratives of what's happening is a bit biased and not balanced. In all of that, the Fulani herdsman or the Fulanis are never a victim. It appears to be like they are constantly the violators, and they haven't been on the receiving end. So here I am. I've been in places where I have seen them as victims, and where I have seen them grieve too and at the receiving end. So I thought that angle could help people rethink their perspectives. This is not to say I'm dismissing the views anybody holds, but I'm just saying, stand on the other side and see if you could have a mind shift on anything at all that you hold right now on these issues.
You raised the case of media bias while you examined the bloodlettings.
Yes, I did mention that because until I went to the Mambila Plateau, I, for example, didn't know that level of violence happened in any part of this country. I didn't see it in the social media. Like I said, Premium Times, Sahara Reporters, and all of them did report these things when it happened. But you'd realize that a lot of people get their news from the social media platform, likewise myself. So things that don't stream on my timelines would mostly appear to be things that are not important. So I never heard of this crisis. And the magnitude of it did require a lot of media attention, if you ask me, but it didn't get that.
Is this an indictment of the Nigerian media?
The traditional media did capture this news, but for some reason, I think that the average Nigerian is interested in themselves. And perhaps it could give us an insight to the side of the Fulanis who may not be active on the social media. So as a result, there might be something they are missing, or there might be something we're unable to know about them. There's a gap in communication, long and short, and it could be something we may look into.
You are not happy with the response of the Nigerian president to these bloodlettings in the country?
My feeling is that human life is cheap. Life is cheap here. This is about the only country where I still drive and I see cops, human cops on the road, and nobody stops. It's the country where you would hear that 100 people died and there is nothing from the president, and it's just business as usual. But if we did hear that 50 people died in America, I'm sure that there could be condolence visits and all of that. I just think it's bias, and even in that, we select people who deserve to be grieved for and people who do not deserve to be grieved for. The president can do more. It's always my argument that there's a big gap in communication. It doesn't take too much, because for some of the times you realize that, okay, they're still active. His Twitter handle is active. His other media platforms are active, but it is insensitive of them not to feel the temperature of the people, or how the people are feeling, what's happening, and react accordingly. So it's just the way I see it.
Are we losing our humanity as a people?
I think so, especially when it comes to violence and the responses that we give to it. It becomes normative, and it shouldn't be. Death doesn't shock us anymore. We pretend to honor the dead for just a day or so, perhaps put up a Facebook post or make a comment, and the next time you move on. Perhaps it's something that happens in societies where people are more focused on survival than living. So there really isn't time to waste, because you have to work hard to survive the next minute. So I think we're losing our humanity. The level of violence in the country is huge. It's too much. It's unbelievable.
You remind us of Ado Ali Juli, the community leader. He felt pain. He needed justice. Can he get justice?
The question would also be, can the Benue victims get justice? The same thing applies to all the people who have suffered loss in one way or the other. I wish they can, but we also have a failure of our legal system, so...
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Yes, speaking to Adobe there in 2018. Adobe has worked on issues of HIV/AIDS, environment, agriculture, climate change, and gender equality. She has consulted for UNFPA, USAID, UNICEF, and Action Aid. Through her experiences, she gained an exposure to community issues and to the roles played by organizations and individuals in shaping the future. Adobe Nkenkelonyeda. He gave us an insight about what's going on in the Mambila Plateau. And last week, we saw how some persons ambushed buses coming from Bauchi to Ondo State and massacred the occupants of the buses. And you ask, for how long will this continue? We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Splash FM 105.5.
Christ the Redeemer Secondary School is presently conducting her entrance examinations for the current academic session into JSS and SSS classes. We deliver sound learning in a conducive environment for both day and boarding students. Our state-of-the-art library with internet learning facilities, ultra-modern sports facility, well-equipped laboratories, moderate class population, and teachers with hands-on experience provide every child an all-round education. And yes, the fees are affordable.
We are smart, intelligent, and disciplined students that make our parents proud. Don't let your child be an exemption.
The school is giving out scholarships for all children of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, full-time pastors, ministers, and national staff. Center. Forms are available at the school premises situated at Police Post College Crescent, Molete, Ibadan. For inquiries, please call 070-3331-0311 or 081-8004-2427. The first secondary school opened in Ibadan by the Redeemed Christian Church of God, where our children are trained in the Christian way and their future is secured.
Délé ìgbà wo ló ti ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ já ẹṣin ọkọ̀ tuntun eléyìí. Ikọ́ ṣoṣo tó mọ̀ mímọ̀ náà ni. Irọ́ ni o ní mọ́tò tó ń fojoojúmọ́ gbowó lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀. Báwo ló ṣe ṣe tó fọ́ dàbí tuntun báyìí.
Iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ Service King lórí yẹn.
Tẹ́ bá fẹ́ sí mọ́tò ṣe ó dàbí tuntun just Service King.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, Service King Auto Service Company tó ń sọ mọ́tò di tuntun bí ìyàwó àṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ gbé. Èyíkéyìí ìtọ́jú ara ọkọ̀ tẹ́ fẹ́ ṣe bó bá jẹ́ mechanical bó jẹ́ body work ẹ dá gbogbo ẹ̀dá Service King. Àwọn akọ́ṣẹ́mọṣẹ́ pẹ̀lú iṣẹ́ ìgbàlódé ni wọ́n fi ń sọ mọ́tò di tuntun lọ́dọ̀ wọn. Onírúurú pààtì ọkọ̀ tẹ́ bá sì ń fẹ́ direct ni wọ́n kó wọlé látòkè òkun. American cars, Japanese cars tó fi dórí German cars. Diagnosis ìyẹn àyẹ̀wò ni wọ́n kọ́kọ́ ṣe kí wọ́n tó dáwọ́lé mọ́tò rẹ̀. Wọ́n mójúlẹ́jà ìgbàlódé spray painting tó fi mọ́ baking. Tinútẹ̀yìn ni wọ́n sì fọ mọ́tò fún gbogbo oníbàárà wọn tí wọ́n bá parí iṣẹ́. Bí ọba ni Service King Gua C plot 36 College Crescent nítòsí Bevy High School Òkè Àdó Ìbàdàn. Ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ 091-3538-0000. Service King ọba tó ba lórí gbogbo mọ́tò.
Used to tell me after dinner time story how they used to chop life at the yo and bad parties. Chicken curry sauce, my mom is the boss. You can never have enough of party to love. But these days, all we see is just concoction. Like we got smacked in the head and got concussion. No more daily treats, no more Sunday best. Is this what you eat? My God, why settle for less? It's night time, everybody gotta live it up. Maggie chickens in the kitchen, everybody season up. Mouth water, then lips smacking, finger licking. Didn't I tell you every meal tastes like chicken? Spice up every meal, don't let them taste the same. Cause Maggie chicken is making chicken great again. Just know one thing, just know I really, really love it. When you cook with Maggie chicken. Maggie chicken now comes in powder.
With Maggie, cook the difference.
Ẹ̀yin ará lọ́kùnrin lóbìnrin àmúwá fún yín láti iléeṣẹ́ tó jẹ́ aṣáájú nínú ṣíṣe máṣíìnì alùpùpù lágbàáyé ẹ̀mí kò ṣeé dádúró ti Naija Hero Hunter. Máṣíìnì alùpùpù Hero Hunter 100 pẹ̀lú ìjókòó gígùn tó tún tẹ́jú ààyè ìgbẹ́rù tó fẹ̀ àti ẹ́ńjìnì alágbára 100cc tó tún wá pẹ̀lú warranty onídìíwọ̀n olóṣù 12 Visco engine oil oní lítà 24 èyí tí yóò mú ọ tọ́jú ju $1,040 lọ. Fún ìgbà díẹ̀ ni o, fún ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé ẹ pè làfẹ́ 0800 800 8080. Hero Hunter máṣíìnì alùpùpù tó lálòtọ́ tó ṣeé gbára lé.
Splash FM 105.5.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Yes, DG. You listened to Adobe Kinkeloyo there. What do you think about her analysis?
Well, it provides some balance to what we have been hearing. Much of what we have been hearing up until now was that Fulanis are being killed. Fulanis are killing people and all of that. But we're hearing now that there's a place in Nigeria where the Fulanis themselves are being massacred and all of that. So it provides a balance, and it begins to, one begin to now look at it and realize that there are victims on the two sides, and well, none of us cannot. We can now begin to say, okay, we want to begin to take actions based on the fact that we have been victims. The Fulanis also have been victims, and we really need to look at this Nigerian question. There's this thing that you talk about. You talk about the Nigerian philosophy. I think there's this thing you talk about. We need to bring forth that Nigerian philosophy, that Nigerian mind, that Nigerian theory, that thing that is central to all of us, and reduce the dividing line. Countries that are making progress are countries that are nations that are making sure that the things that divide them are reduced and they come together. Look at Europe. See what is happening with the European Union and all of that. America today is what she is because it's a conglomeration of countries. All those states are countries in themselves. So why do we now begin to think that, okay, we want to divide? If we divide this country, if we ever succeed at dividing this country, the splinters they won't end. The North will continue to divide, the East will continue to divide. Even in the West, we still talk about Ogbomosho people, Ibadan people, people from Ibarapa, we still talk about these things. Rather than emphasizing the things that divide us, why don't we, exalt the things that unite us and see how a united force can make this country great.
Fumubi Onolakbo is here. He's a political scientist, BSc Political Science Ife, MSc Political Science Ife. Fumubi, you listened to Adobe. What do you think?
That was a very beautiful research conducted by her, and we saw the beauty of investment in intellectual capacity here. She went into the society and she dug out something, and we can safely conclude here that there is a whole lot of things to be done by the civil society. There's a whole lot of things to be done, especially by the media, to report this story in its entirety, because what mainstream media has always projected to us is killing on one side. To remedy this, we need true journalism. We need free media. But that beside, we must begin. I think a large sum of this country believe that the more the merrier. A large sum believe that it will be better for us to stay together than for us to go in splinters. And we must leverage on this. We must reconcile a whole lot of warring factors that would definitely reduce our pace of development, even if we develop an inch. So we must begin to find meanings to all this division, because it rightly said something about the fact of states coming together, breaking the lines, the tiny borders that had existed over time. We saw that in Europe. We see the unique Canadian immigration system trying to bring people across the world together in Canada to strengthen that nation. We see the today United States of America. We are seeing Australia do this thing. Emirates, the United Arab Emirates, is also working around getting people together. Come here and let's develop. The beauty of an Hausa culture can strengthen the beauty of the Yoruba culture. So if we come together, but we won't do this without strong institution that can prevail against primordial sentiments.
What about the kind of leaders we produce? Is the leadership class responsible enough to entrench unity, peace, and justice?
The answer is no. The leadership class is not responsible. They are not bringing out the stuff they are supposed to. Our leaders are still very. There's a sense in it. It's as if I wish some of these people listening to you. I wish that they are students of history, students of philosophy. You talk about these philosophy leaders. Things like that. We don't have it. So much of the leadership that we have in this country is money leadership. Somebody who has money, and because he has money, then he is automatically a leader. We don't have that, and until we get it, we can't make progress. We need leadership.
What about the citizenry? Do they project knowledge or understanding of the society they live in?
Yeah, I think the point of you can't separate citizens of country from leadership, because leaders they are a fragment of the citizen that exists in a country. Like Nigerians, although many have argued that Nigerians don't deserve what we have, you understand, but in all sincerity, those guys, the leadership of this country is a reflection of the Nigerian mass. But it's upon the leadership the political elite to make sense of that status. They are presently there, and what we see in most developed countries is that the elite class, the elite group, would always want to stay there intact. But the way this elite is being constructed, the way they stand, it may go on self-suicide. You get the point? Because it's not rooted in the knowledge of the existence, the peculiarity of Nigeria. The more they start paying attention to that, the more they start knowing that Nigeria as a space have a whole lot to offer the West African region, have a whole lot to offer the African people, have a whole lot to offer the black race. The more we come out of this quagmire to be a strong people.
I can see Ijele Ndibu. He says, Radio Man, I'm listening and sharing from Dakar, Senegal. Ijele Ndibu, thank you. How is Dakar this morning? Adam Ibrahim says, happy weekend to the Radio Man. Thank you. Ibrahim Adeshola, who is here? I thank Ndubisi Chinaka. I appreciate all of you watching us on Facebook, on Splash FM page, on Facebook, on Edmund Obilo's page on Facebook. You can watch the program on State Affairs page. We are streaming live, and Deji Yesufu is here. We are looking at the issues together, trying to break it down. Pool Ajibola says, Akeredolu and governors of the South position on land grabbing being led by Buhari is obvious. So Ajibola agrees with Akeredolu. Kizito Augustine is listening too. Kizito, where are you listening from? Aziza Rishekola Teslim says he has been listening to the Radio Man for a decade now, and he cannot miss an edition. Yes, I come to radio because of you, because I know you are there.
Yeah, Edmund, when you mention the issue of citizens and what they are contributing to these issues, we go back now to this matter of education. Let me apologize for taking it to this point. I don't know whether you're ready for it, but remember the audio that I sent to you that issue. Yeah. I mean, we are in trouble. We are in trouble in this country when our education is not, our education. Look, in another 20, 30 years, as much as we might not like how it sounds, many of us are not going to be here. Some of us may have passed out. Some of us may be doing something else entirely. It's these young people who are in schools that will be taking over from us. If they are not getting educated, there will be nothing for them to take over from. So I was shocked when somebody gave me that report on our public school systems. It is in shambles. I mean in Oyo State, not somewhere else, not in Zamfara. In Oyo State, it is in shambles. GSS1 students that cannot spell their names. It is in shambles. We're in trouble.
It's a national problem.
Well, yes, but I didn't know it was that serious.
It is that serious because I've noticed it over time. And the reason I've not called you since then is that I'm asking, how do we tackle this? It's not just a journalist going there to report it.
Yes.
It doesn't really solve the problem.
Yes.
I've reported so many issues in the past. So now I'm taking a new dimension in tackling issues, not just reporting it for reporting's sake. We need to come out with strategy to tackle these problems we've noticed. So for me, I'm even going beyond journalism into strategy, finding ways of changing society, not just reporting the issues. But I took note of your voice note, and we are going to address it at the right time. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
Splash FM 105.5.
Mom, see, used to tell me after dinner time story how they used to chop life at the yo and bad parties. Chicken curry sauce, my mom is the boss. You can never have enough of party jollof. But these days, all we see is just concoction. Like we got smacked in the head and got concussion. No more daily treats, no more Sunday best. Is this what you eat? My God, why settle for less? It's night time, everybody gotta live it up. Maggie chickens in the kitchen, everybody season up. Mouth water and lips smacking, finger licking. Didn't I tell you every meal tastes like chicken? Spice up every meal, don't let them taste the same. Cause Maggie chicken is making chicken great again. Just know one thing, just know I really, really love it. When you cook with Maggie chicken. Maggie chicken now comes in powder.
With Maggie, cook the difference.
Sakpa na batino. He hold me so tey and no fit comot for us to add on top am. Na so my mama send me message talk say.
Ojuko, where the credit where you promise me now?
Sure. That one no be another sakpa on top sakpa. But thank you to Globe Borrow for others. So I just borrow credit for her from my network. Enter her own number sharp. Later when I recharge, they go collect the money from my own phone.
With Globe Borrow for others, you can now borrow data and airtime for your family and friends. Then pay back their credit on your next recharge. Dial *777# to get started.
Glow Unlimited.
Uncle Dentist, wetin be cavities and how Colgate take dey protect my teeth from cavities? Shey dey use comfort?
No dear, na hole for teeth dey cause most tooth pain wey be cavity. But if you use Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection take brush every day, the confirmed formula go help keep natural calcium inside our teeth wey go protect them from tooth decay.
Time don reach to upgrade to the world's most chosen toothpaste, Colgate, because Colgate locks calcium in.
Yes, cavities out!
Now the Nigerian Dental Association, they recommend Colgate.
Chop life, live life, do the things that gon' make you happy. Them know like I'm to want to let everybody get your flavor. Chop life, drink up, one glass of Martin as you step down. Them know like I'm to want to let everybody get your flavor. Oh, your flavor. Elele, 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 yeah. Oh, your flavor.
Multina. Share happiness.
A school with a difference. Lead British International School, located in the tranquil area of Jericho, Ibadan, and the serene area of Grandpa, Abuja, was founded over 14 years ago.
Our mission is to equip future leaders by providing world-class educational and social experiences in a conducive learning environment with our core values of discipline, truthfulness, self-reliance, and creativity.
Our excellent school offers the best of the English and Nigerian curriculums. Lead British International School caters to the needs of children from 3 months old to 17 years. We have state-of-the-art boarding and day facilities. Entrance exams into all classes is ongoing every Thursday at the school premises located at Plot 5, 7 and 8, Akiola Magistrate, Jericho, Ibadan.
Application forms are on sale at 10,000 Naira. For further inquiries, contact 0808 187 5598 or 0803 384-2368.
Lead British International School, equipping future leaders.
Ẹ̀yin ará lọ́kùnrin lóbìnrin àmúwá fún yín láti iléeṣẹ́ tó jẹ́ aṣáájú nínú ṣíṣe máṣíìnì alùpùpù lágbàáyé ẹ̀mí kò ṣeé dádúró ti Naija Hero Hunter. Máṣíìnì alùpùpù Hero Hunter 100 pẹ̀lú ìjókòó gígùn tó tún tẹ́jú, ààyè ìgbẹ́rù tó fẹ̀ àti ẹ́ńjìnì alágbára 100cc tó tún wá pẹ̀lú warranty onídìíwọ̀n olóṣù 12 Visco engine oil oní lítà 24 èyí tí yóò mú ọ tọ́jú ju $1,040 lọ. Fún ìgbà díẹ̀ ni o, fún ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé ẹ pè làfẹ́ 0800 800 8080. Hero Hunter, máṣíìnì alùpùpù tó lálòtọ́ tó ṣe é gbára lé. Tell me after dinner time story how they used to chop life at the yo and bad parties. Chicken curry sauce, my mom is the boss. You can never have enough of party jollof. But these days all we see is just concoction. Like we got smacked in the head and got concussion. No more daily treats, no more Sunday best. Is this what you eat? My God, why settle for less? It's night time, everybody gotta live it up. Maggie chickens in the kitchen, everybody season up. Mouth water and lips smacking, finger licking. Didn't I tell you every meal tastes like chicken? Spice up every meal, don't let them taste the same. Cause Maggie chicken is making chicken great again. Just know one thing, just know I really, really love it. When you cook with Maggie chicken. Maggie chicken now comes in powder.
With Maggie, cook the difference.
Chop life, live life, do the things that gon' make you happy. Them know like I'm to want to let everybody gets your flavor. Chop life, drink up, one glass of Martin as you step down. Them know like I'm to want to let everybody gets your flavor. Oh, your flavor, elele, 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 yeah. Oh, your flavor,
Multina, share happiness.
My guy, 100 million naira don land o for people wey sabi to come chop and reach up. For where? Na for Mozart Bet o. 100 million naira. Abeg, how I fit win? Na to go register for Mozart Bet o. Just go log on to www.mozartbet.ng. I say www.mozzartbet.ng and you go get 100% welcome bonus sharparly for your first deposit. And you too go soon become millionaire be that o. Just continue to charge your winnings with our Mozart Bet 1000% super multi bonus.
Oh boy, no be small things o. Abeg, I don join.
Better day for Mozart Bet o. Just go log on to www.mozzartbet.ng. I say www.mozzartbet.ng. Go register o. Make you hammer. Mozart Bet. Terms and conditions dey sha o.
Splash FM 105.5.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Yes, let's go to Afghanistan. I'm interested in what is going on there. And I will raise some questions, especially as it has to do with the Middle East. And what will be the impact on Africa? Remember that on Wednesday, 14th April 2021, United States President Joe Biden announced that American troops will leave Afghanistan by the end or by September 11th, 2021. It means that the United States will miss a May deadline to pull out of Afghanistan, as agreed with the Taliban in 2020. Because what I see from the reactions is that people are surprised that the Taliban took over. It was clear from 2018. Look, America has been negotiating with the Taliban. So it was clear that America was going to hand over Afghanistan to the Taliban. How? Okay, let's go. Now, Joe Biden set a new deadline. That new deadline coincides with the 20th anniversary of the terror attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon in 2001. Let's listen to Joe Biden announcing the pullout.
Just weeks after the terrorist attack on our nation that killed 2,977 innocent souls, that turned Lower Manhattan into a disaster area, destroyed parts of the Pentagon, and made hallowed ground of a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and sparked an American promise that we would never forget. We went to Afghanistan in 2001 to root out al-Qaeda, to prevent future terrorist attacks against the United States planned from Afghanistan. Our objective was clear. The cause was just. Our NATO allies and partners rallied beside us. And I supported that military action along with overwhelming majority of the members of Congress. More than 7 years later, in 2008, weeks before we swore the oath of office President Obama and I were about to swear, President Obama asked me to travel to Afghanistan and report back on the state of the war in Afghanistan. I flew to Afghanistan, to the Kunar Valley, a rugged mountainous region on the border with Pakistan. What I saw on that trip reinforced my conviction that only the Afghans have the right and responsibility to lead their country, and that more and endless American military force could not create or sustain a durable Afghan government. I believed that our presence in Afghanistan should be focused on the reason we went in the first place, to ensure Afghanistan would not be used as a base from which to attack our homeland again. We did that. We accomplished that objective. I said, among with others, we'd follow Osama bin Laden to the gates of hell if need be. That's exactly what we did, and we got him. It took us close to 10 years to put President Obama's commitment into form, and that's exactly what happened. Osama bin Laden was gone. That was 10 years ago. Think about that. We delivered justice to bin Laden a decade ago, and we've stayed in Afghanistan for a decade since. Since then, our reasons for remaining in Afghanistan have become increasingly unclear, even as the terrorist threat that we went to fight evolved. Over the past 20 years, the threat has become more dispersed, metastasizing around the globe. Al-Shabaab in Somalia, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, al-Nusra in Syria, ISIS attempting to create a caliphate in Syria and Iraq and establishing affiliates in multiple countries in Africa and Asia. With the terror threat now in many places, keeping thousands of troops grounded and concentrated in just one country at a cost of billions each year makes little sense to me and to our leaders. We cannot continue the cycle of extending or expanding our military presence in Afghanistan, hoping to create ideal conditions for the withdrawal and expecting a different result. I'm now the 4th United States president to preside over American troop presence in Afghanistan. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. I will not pass this responsibility on to a 5th. After consulting closely with our allies and partners, with our military leaders and intelligence personnel, with our diplomats and our development experts, with the Congress and the Vice President, as well as with Mr. Ghani and many others around the world, I've concluded that it's time to end America's longest war. It's time for American troops to come home.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
It's time for American troops to come home. Are they home? Or they are still holed up in the airport? What's going on? Remember, in April, while I was discussing this matter, I said there were fears that if American forces withdrew before a lasting agreement is reached, the Taliban might seize power. I was just trying to moderate my opinion at that point. I knew that the Taliban would seize power. Remember, I told you about writing my thesis on the Taliban, so I have studied them. Ashraf Ghani was the president that abandoned his people. In April, here is what he said in April.
I think it should be remembered that was I who secured the first ceasefire in our history in 2018. The question was, who was going to own and lead the peace process? What we proposed to the Trump administration 2 years ago is that if you want to withdraw, deal with us, the legitimate government of Afghanistan, not with the Taliban on that issue. They made choices, and because of that, they needed a figure to blame things upon. I was never the obstacle, and again, in preparation for the Istanbul conference, I went to my nation and clearly indicated that I was willing to reduce my elected terms of office, but my condition was a democratic succession, where the people of Afghanistan would decide on the succession. For me, it's the principle, not power. Power is an instrument of service, not something personal. Well, what I hope they will go for and what they're likely to go for are likely to be different things. What I'd like them is to seize the new context where a true national political settlement is made that integrates them within the government, within the society, within the economy. And that we form a government of peace for a brief period, culminating in an election that is internationally supervised and monitored, and in order to make sure that the wounds of the past 42 years, particularly past 20 years, are healed, we will need a discussion of a national compact in the preparation, the justification, and approval of any peace deal should take place in the Loy Jirga, our historical institution, where all walks of life are brought, and it's imperative that the Taliban sit with their Afghan sisters and brothers if that's what they consider us.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
So from that speech, it is clear that Ashraf Ghani knew that the Taliban were coming. But his condition was that the Taliban would come and there would be a peace government, then an election. Hey, Ashraf Ghani, you know that once the United States pulled out, the Taliban were going to invade. And he took off. But did you know that Ashraf Ghani is a professor? Very brilliant. He wrote one of the best books on how to remedy failed states. Okay, we'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Splash FM 105.5.
Quick, charge at 240.
Hot news, cool vibes, sports, and more on the Integrity Station.
Rob.
BBC Minute.
Fallout from events in Afghanistan first.
Greece has built a 40-kilometre border fence amid fears of a surge in migrants fleeing the Taliban.
Greece was one of the main entry points into the EU during the migrant crisis.
Neighbouring Turkey has also called on European countries to take responsibility for
The founder of the Taliban has arrived in Kabul. The militants say Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar is meeting jihadi leaders and politicians to discuss setting up a government.
Melbourne protests a top trend in Australia. A demo against COVID lockdown measures has seen protesters break through police lines. Sydney and Brisbane also saw big gatherings.
Hurricane Grace is trending in Mexico. We're seeing wind and rain batter buildings as it makes landfall on the country's Gulf Coast.
On Thursday, the storm hit Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula before weakening over land. It's now gathered pace again.
Hashtag Happy Onam is a top global trend.
It's the annual Harvest Festival, which is celebrated in the Indian state of Kerala.
Lots of colourful celebrations happening on socials.
0829G. Minutes.
Quick, charge at 240.
Hot news, cool vibes, sports, and more on the Integrity Station.
Entertainment.
With extreme caution.
Information.
This message is being recorded at a...
More music.
Baby, it's a wanna make you take us from my...
Splash 105.5 FM.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Yes, DG. Taliban, Afghanistan.
Yes.
The Talibans are on the street. They are in charge now.
Yes.
What do you see?
Okay, so basically what's happening in Afghanistan is that and even in much of our world, is that there has been a clash of ideologies. That's why I wrote that article I wrote about Afghanistan and the triumph of ideologies. The Taliban and many other, the Taliban and many other, and ISIS and some other, permit me to use Islamic terrorist groups, are pushing for a society that must be governed by Islamic laws. Okay, Gandhi, or the guy that was removed from power in Afghanistan, is pushing for a government that is led by democratic values. Democracy is a product of the West, from the USA and other parts. Okay, so right now we're having a clash of ideas, clash of ideologies. What is going to gain the ascendancy? My argument in my article is this, that it's not enough for a person to just postulate ideas, write books. You have just told us about the former president of Afghanistan being a professor who wrote a very good book. It's not enough to just push ideas out. You need the force of a military. Okay? The Americans began to negotiate with the Taliban because they appreciated their military prowess. You know, that they had to negotiate with them. You know, so you have an ideology, you have to push it. You have to defend it with the force of the military. What has happened, unfortunately, in Afghanistan is that the people with an ideology and military powers have come to take over. The guy that was there before, the minute the Americans pulled out, he didn't have the military power. Unfortunately, I hear that they had some 300,000 trained soldiers on ground, but they couldn't face 70,000 Taliban fighters. You know, it just shows for some reason there was, despite the fact that they had the numbers, they even had the military, you know, they just did not have a drive, and probably they didn't believe enough in the democracy they were pushing for.
Let's listen to Joe Biden, not nation building this time, where Joe Biden talked about the Afghan military not having the courage to fight for Afghanistan.
When I came into office, I inherited a deal that President Trump negotiated with the Taliban. Under his agreement, U.S. forces would be out of Afghanistan by May 1, 2021, just a little over 3 months after I took office. U.S. forces had already drawn down during the Trump administration from roughly 15,500 American forces to 2,500 troops in country. And the Taliban was at its strongest militarily since 2001. The choice I had to make as your president was either to follow through on that agreement or be prepared to go back to fighting the Taliban in the middle of the spring fighting season. There would have been no ceasefire after May 1. There was no agreement protecting our forces after May 1. There was no status quo of stability without American casualties after May 1. There was only a cold reality of either following through on the agreement to withdraw our forces or escalating the conflict and sending thousands more American troops back into combat in Afghanistan, lurching into the third decade of conflict. I stand squarely behind my decision. After 20 years, I've learned the hard way that there was never a good time to withdraw U.S. forces. That's why we're still there. We were clear-eyed about the risks. We planned for every contingency, but I always promised the American people that I would be straight with you. The truth is, this did unfold more quickly than we had anticipated. So what's happened? Afghanistan political leaders gave up and fled the country. The Afghan military collapsed, sometime without trying to fight. If anything, the developments of the past week reinforced that ending U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan now was the right decision. American troops cannot and should not be fighting in a war and dying in a war that Afghan forces are not willing to fight for themselves. We spent over $1 trillion. We trained and equipped an Afghan military force with some 300,000 strong, incredibly well equipped, a force larger in size than the militaries of many of our NATO allies. We gave them every tool they could need. We paid their salaries, provided for the maintenance of their Air Force, something that Taliban doesn't have. Taliban does not have an Air Force. We provided close air support. We gave them every chance to determine their own future. What we could not provide them was the will to fight for that future.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Yes, we are looking at the CNN here in the studio. 14,000 people now at Kabul airport. Fumibi, you listened to that speech by Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Afghan soldiers could not fight for their future.
Yeah, indeed, it was so clear that within some days, what has been built over time faded away. We saw the political will that ran despite commitment to securing the country, despite commitment to democracy, that fled the country. And we saw how Afghan soldiers also gave in so easily. So it comes to the point of this, that the 20 years journey in Afghanistan by America, what happened? And we will trace it back to the fact that they solely went in for something which was national interest. And we must understand, as students of international politics, that states, nations are amoral in international system. Nations don't dance to the tune of emotions and sympathies. They drive their international interest in international politics. And that was what they went in. They went in for Osama bin Laden, the person that struck 9/11, and they got him in Pakistan later, 10 years after. They went in to reduce the gravity of Al-Qaeda's strength in Afghanistan, supported by the Taliban movement. And they went in, they reduced that, and they went behind the scene, negotiated with the Taliban government, outside of the Afghan government consent. And they negotiated with them. Probably they are the new darling in town. So the point now is that we saw democracy fail too. We saw from Hamid Karzai, we saw how corruption overswept that country. We saw how political elites could not consolidate on democracy that was handed over to them. Because you can just imagine a 20-year journey just fizzled out in just some days. It shows that they are not really that means if a Taliban candidate had contested against the incumbent government in Afghanistan, probably they would have won. So which is the point that people have a decision to make, and these people cannot. In fact, it's against popular opinion that America should still be in Afghanistan today. A whole lot of cash being spent in that country, a whole lot of military human capacity being rendered useless in that country. But at the end of it all, we learned a lesson, which is that nationals, citizens, they would decide their fate.
You know, you raised some fundamental point. How come democracy fizzled out? I think I should be able to answer some of the questions Fumubi has raised. So in answering those questions, I want us to listen again to Joe Biden He's saying not nation building. Joe Biden spoke from the White House on Monday afternoon after the collapse of the Afghan government to the Taliban. So let's listen what he talks about as he talks about nation building.
We went to Afghanistan almost 20 years ago with clear goals. Get those who attacked us on September 11th, 2001, and make sure al-Qaeda could not use Afghanistan as a base from which to attack us again. We did that. We severely degraded al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. We never gave up the hunt for Osama bin Laden, and we got him. That was a decade ago. Our mission in Afghanistan was never supposed to have been nation building. It was never supposed to be creating a unified, centralized democracy. Our only vital national interest in Afghanistan remains today what it has always been: preventing a terrorist attack on America's homeland. I've argued for many years that our mission should be narrowly focused on counterterrorism, not counterinsurgency or nation building. That's why I opposed the surge when it was proposed in 2009 when I was vice president. And that's why, as president, I'm adamant that we focus on the threats we face today in 2021, not yesterday's threats. Today, the terrorist threat has metastasized well beyond Afghanistan. Al-Shabaab in Somalia, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, al-Nusra in Syria, ISIS attempting to create a caliphate in Syria and Iraq, and establishing affiliates in multiple countries in Africa and Asia. These threats warrant our attention and our resources. We conduct effective counterterrorism missions against terrorist groups in multiple countries where we don't have permanent military presence. If necessary, we'll do the same in Afghanistan. We've developed counterterrorism over-the-horizon capability that will allow us to keep our eyes firmly fixed on the direct threats to the United States in the region and act quickly and decisively if needed.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Joe Biden says it's not about nation building. I disagree with him. What is nation building? When you set up democratic structures, you fund the army, you pay them, and that is not nation building, Mr. Biden? You see, the exactness of the democratic thought of U.S. political elite is stated in Abraham Lincoln's 1863 Gettysburg Address, that the United States of America, under God, shall have a new freedom, and that government of the people for the people shall not perish from the earth. This part of Lincoln's speech has become the popular definition of democracy and represents the American dream. Armed with this notion, United States foreign policy is pursued to express democratic tenets in all parts of the world, and that's nation building. All American presidents make this a mantra and a task, sometimes not minding the repercussion. During the second inaugural address of George Bush in 2005, he re-echoed this line of thought, stating, "We are led by events and common sense to one conclusion: the survival of liberty in our land increasingly depends on the success of liberty in other lands." Is that not what America did in Afghanistan? Is that not nation building? Obama's 2014 speech before the United Nations General Assembly reaffirms America's democratic internationalism. He says, "We will continue to promote democracy and human rights, an open market, because we believe these practices achieve peace and prosperity. You know, George Bush went into Afghanistan on the back of a policy known as neoconservatism, what later became Bush doctrine. I want to talk about Kirkpatrick. You know that woman, that sharp woman in the government of Ronald Reagan. She declared that George Bush Jr. was a bit too interventionist for her taste. Here is what she said. And this will answer Fumibi's question about democracy. She says, no idea holds greater sway in the mind of educated Americans than the belief that it is possible to democratize government anytime and anywhere, under any circumstances. She says decades, if not centuries, are normally required for the people to acquire the necessary disciplines and habits for democracy. And having studied America's democratic journey, I agree with her. You know, until the 20th century, women could not vote in America. So that was a process. So Nigeria's democracy is also unraveling. Be patient. Advancing his argument, this time I'm talking about Francis Fukuyama. Fukuyama states that the problem with neoconservatism's agenda lies not in its ends, but rather in the over-militarized means by which it has sought to accomplish them. I will bring in Digi here because his article is saying you have to militarize to build ideology. On the question of democracy, Fukuyama states, I quote, "This optimism about post-war transitions to democracy helps explain the Bush administration's incomprehensible failure to plan adequately for the insurgency that subsequently emerged in Iraq. The war's supporters seemed to think that democracy was a kind of default condition to which societies reverted once the heavy lifting of coercive regime change occurred, rather than a long-term process of institution building and reform." So what Afghanistan has told the world that 20 years is not enough to solidify democracy. Remember, Nigeria tried it from 1960 to 1966 and it collapsed. The military took over. From 1979 to 1983, we practiced democracy and it collapsed. The military came again. So now, we have tried it for about 21 years since 1999 and it hasn't collapsed. Perhaps because of the lessons we have learned from the past. So gradually we are building institutions. So when you are angry about the Nigerian system that is not working because it's a democracy and you want to compare it to America, I say, hey, hold on. Nigeria to some extent still practice primitivism. Like Buhari is saying that Fulani herdsmen can move around with cows. So that is your reality. You still have traditional rulers. You have Alaafin, you have the Ooni of Ife. These are monarchical systems in a democracy. They have their impact. They will not allow democracy to grow. So you are combining monarchy and yet you say you are a republic. You have the Sultan. These are contradictions. So you have to continue to redefine. Perhaps in the next 100 years, we must have redefined the Nigerian system. So the social structures of Nigeria at the moment will not allow for the kind of American democracy. We are going to evolve over time. Over time. And I feel we'll get there. Digi, can you intervene at this point?
Yeah, I appreciate that thought that you brought about the evolving of democracy, because the fact is that even democracy is not an institution that God anywhere said that must be used to govern the people. People over time, in the last 200 years, have come to find out that it's one of the best ways of governing a people. We have had situations in countries like Singapore where we had this thing you call dictatorship, benign dictatorship, where the person in power has stuck to power and he's been able to govern his country well, despite the excesses of Gaddafi. We saw what he did in Libya. So yes, democracy, we're trying as much as possible to institute it in Nigeria, but it's going to have to evolve in our own way. We can't do away with our obas. When crises break out in societies, where I live, in my new site where I live, we have a ballet there. We take our issues to him. If he can't solve it, he takes it to the higher person before we start to even talk about local government chairman or even the state governors. So there is a sense in it that the democracy will eventually come up with in Nigeria might be something where we're going to have to marry up ideas and things like that.
A democratic system unique to us, that accepts our social structures.
Yes. But I was going to also talk about this thing about militarization of ideas, defending ideas with military. What the man, Fukuyama or something, mentioned was that he said over militarization. Okay, it shouldn't be over. But there is, you must defend your ideas with military. What happened in Afghanistan was that the Afghan soldiers did not believe enough in the democracy they called them to defend. But the Taliban believed enough in the idea they were pushing for, and they came and idea clashed with ideas, and those who had the driving force enough overcame the people. The Americans said that they knew that the government was going to collapse, but they did not know that it was going to collapse that fast. So there's a sense in it that, in fact, there is a commentator, or there's an idea or a commentary that is going on that the Afghan people, while the media had not been showing it, but there are a good number of Afghan people are actually open to having the Taliban back in government. And it's possible that some of these soldiers that the Americans trained were also open to it. So ideas have to be defended with military force. The people who are pushing for these ideas must, believe enough in it.
So Fumibi, you want to come in?
Yes, I think these are explanations on the war of ideas. That ideas are very strong, and they could stand against even institutions. They could combat institutions. But that's beside. The point of democracy in that region is something we have to pay close attention to. Just like we believe a whole lot of people have come to subscribe to democracy as more of a universal template to run an institution where people enjoy freedom of choices. You make choice during election and it's periodic, and you have independent jury that could go over your cases, civil society and the likes. But the point now is that, in fact, countries that are extreme or that were extreme anti-democracy before now have switched and gradually evolving to embrace some things in democracy. And a good example is China. A whole lot of people just want to lord it over China, that China is, if you go to the local levels in China, they now have mayoric elections. The mayors now contest election, which is that they are open to that system cannot continue like that, but can we also consult the aspiration of the people? But China is another case entirely. But the point of the fact that people are bringing in new things, and I want to suspect that the Taliban may bring in something that is attractive to appeal the sentiment of Afghans. Everyone will not leave their country. Afghanistans will need to stay. Some portion will stay. Some people will leave, but the rest that would be there will need to contend with probably a reformed Taliban idea because Taliban would also, despite being legitimized by the US government, would need to gain international acceptance. I doubt how the system will look like in the next few months leading to years, but I can say for a fact that the Taliban cannot rule like that alone. They can't rule with that imported over long idea. They will need to contend with contemporary discourse.
And Lance, they are even discussing with Hamid Karzai already, the president that America installed after the invasion.
Okay.
You know, so discussions are ongoing. The Taliban has not even named the leadership of the country to this moment. Okay, we are going for a commercial break. We'll be back, so don't go away.
Splash FM 105.5.
Mom, see, used to tell me after dinner time story how they used to chop life at your one bad parties. Chicken curry sauce, mama is the boss. You can never have enough of party to love. But these days, all we see is just concoction. Like we got smacked in the head and got concussion. No more daily treats, no more Sunday best. Is this what you eat? My God, why settle for less? It's night time, everybody gotta live it up. Maggie chickens in the kitchen, everybody season up. Mouth water, then lips smacking, finger licking. Didn't I tell you every meal tastes like chicken? Spice up every meal, don't let them taste the same. Cause Maggie chicken is making chicken great again. Just know one thing, just know I really, really love it when you cook with Maggie chicken. Maggie chicken now comes in powder.
With Maggie, cook the difference.
Oh boy, OneXBet they make betting easier with their app for Android and iPhone users. You fit find games without any wahala, even play virtuals and bet without stress. Everything they go sharp on this OneXBet app. You fit download this OneXBet app for our website onexbet.ng and use promo code NG21 if na the first time you dey create account. OneXBet, bet dey for every taste.
Uncle Dentist, wetin be cavities and how Colgate take dey protect my teeth from cavities? Shey dey use comfort?
No dear, na hole for teeth dey cause most tooth pain wey be cavity. But if you use Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection take brush every day, the confirmed formula go help keep natural calcium inside our teeth wey go protect them from tooth decay.
Time don reach to upgrade to the world's most chosen toothpaste, Colgate, because Colgate locks calcium in.
Yes, cavities out!
Now, the Nigerian Dental Association, they recommend Colgate.
Ẹ̀yin ará lọ́kùnrin lóbìnrin àmúwá fún yín láti iléeṣẹ́ tó jẹ́ aṣáájú nínú ṣíṣe máṣíìnì alùpùpù lágbàáyé ẹ̀mí kò ṣeé dádúró ti Naija Hero Hunter. Máṣíìnì alùpùpù Hero Hunter 100 pẹ̀lú ìjókòó gígùn tó tún tẹ́jú, ààyè ìgbẹ́rù tó fẹ̀ àti ẹ́ńjìnì alágbára 100cc tó tún wá pẹ̀lú warranty onídìíwọ̀n olóṣù 12 Visco engine oil oní lítà 24 èyí tí yóò mú ọ tọ́jú ju $1,040 lọ. Fún ìgbà díẹ̀ ni o, fún ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé ẹ pè làfẹ́ 0800 800 8080. Hero Hunter, máṣíìnì alùpùpù tó lálòtọ́ tó ṣeé gbára lé. Ẹ̀yin ará lọ́kùnrin lóbìnrin àmúwá fún yín láti iléeṣẹ́ tó jẹ́ aṣáájú nínú ṣíṣe máṣíìnì alùpùpù lágbàáyé ẹ̀mí kò ṣeé dádúró ti Naija Hero Hunter. Máṣíìnì alùpùpù Hero Hunter 100 pẹ̀lú ìjókòó gígùn tó tún tẹ́jú, ààyè ìgbẹ́rù tó fẹ̀ àti ẹ́ńjìnì alágbára 100cc tó tún wá pẹ̀lú warranty onídìíwọ̀n olóṣù 12 Visco engine oil oní lítà 24 èyí tí yóò mú ọ tọ́jú ju $1,040 lọ. Fún ìgbà díẹ̀ ni o, fún ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé ẹ pè làfẹ́ 0800 800 8080. Hero Hunter, máṣíìnì alùpùpù tó lálòtọ́ tó ṣeé gbára lé.
Do you know that you have the right to quality broadcasting? The National Broadcasting Commission says any person, group of persons, or organization aggrieved by the content of a broadcast or the conduct of a broadcast station may lodge a complaint to the station and all right to the Director General, National Broadcasting Commission, number 20, Ibrahim Taiwo Street, Asokoro, Abuja, or send a mail via info@nbc.gov.ng. Please ensure that your complaint includes name of the broadcast station, title of the program, date and time of broadcast, and essence of the complaint. Also, remember to include your name, address, telephone number, email, and append your signature. Note that your complaint must reach the NBC within 14 days of the queried broadcast. NBC, your right to quality broadcasting.
Splash FM 105.5.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
All right, the lines are open. 08091551055. You can also call the radio station on 08056998678. Another number to call is 07069493000. Hello. Please turn down the volume of your radio set.
Okay, Edmund, I'm happy to get.
Oh, what happened to that female voice? Hello. Turn down the volume of your radio, sir.
Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Adeyemi from Elebu.
Good.
Yeah, I think you and the others are actually missing the Russian angles. I believe the America could intentionally allow the Taliban back into that country, knowing fully well that the installed administration can never hold again the Russian influence back into that country. If we can remember quite well that American actually used Taliban to drive out the Russians before that was in the 90s. Yeah, if we are to look at that in this, we should be aware that America could face the affair that the Russians can actually find their way back into that country. That was why they actually leader with the Taliban, where they have somebody installed in that country. That is one. Two, I don't believe in the militarization of idea. I don't. No. If the idea is good, you don't need to militarize. You are simply forcing people to do what they don't want to do. That's all. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me also correct the opinion that America used the Taliban. By the time the Russians or the Soviet Union was in Afghanistan, there was no Taliban. What you had was the Mujahideen. You know, when the Soviet Union left in 1989, what happened was that the Mujahideen leaders started fighting against themselves. That was when the Taliban was formed. So the Taliban was among the Mujahideens. And because they had this strong organizational power, they were able to find themselves to that leadership position. Don't forget that Osama bin Laden was among those who fought with the Mujahideens. And America sponsored the Mujahideens to remove the Soviet Union. Yes, you might have a point, because at this point, conspiracy theories will be everywhere. But remember, the Russians are also saying we are not pulling out of Afghanistan. China is saying they are not pulling out. So the Russians are already there. The Chinese are already there. And remember, the world of the last decade has changed. There's an emerging power now in the world. That's China. And Russia is re-emerging. A lot will happen in Afghanistan. Who knows? There might be another civil war. Because Afghanistan have been in war in the last 40 years. And as I'm talking, the deputy to Ashraf Ghani has said he is the leader of Afghanistan. And he has moved into a region in Afghanistan ready to declare war on the Taliban. So a lot is going to happen. Hello. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Yes. Between Islam and democracy, there's a culture shock. But in due to this, they both have to borrow for the Afghanistan people to move on. Commissar, the money for you. I thank you.
Yes, he just made a point. Culture shock. Now, does Islam really go with democracy? Especially conservative Islam?
No.
Okay.
No. The bedrock behind much of conservative Islam is a feudalistic system. A situation where one man is appointed leader and his children or people he appoints succeeds him. So it's feudal. But democracy is basically a system where people decide, the majority of your people decide on who leads them. It does not necessarily mean it is the right way, because the majority can also be wrong, but if the majority decide to say this is what they want, whatever they get out of it, they should be able to stop.
So how do we explain what is going on in Iran? Is Iran a democracy? Where you have the Ayatollah as the supreme leader?
No, it's not.
But they elect their president.
Yeah, perhaps that has something to do with this evolving thing you were talking about, the evolving of democracies. Even the Taliban presently are saying that the type of government they are going to run is going to be different from what they had in 1996. Already they are talking about giving liberties to women to go to education. They have not closed down the schools. They have not asked the girls to go back to home. They are trying as much as possible to bring some liberties. And all of these liberties are something they are getting from the democracy. So whether we like it or not, whatever ideas we have will have to evolve. If Nigeria had monarchical systems before, we are going to have to marry it with the democracy that was given to us. The Taliban have no choice now. They have to marry what they have to make their system work.
For maybe that caller raised the question of this. America is careful with the Soviet Union, Russia now, that Russia might want to come in. That's why America handed over Afghanistan to the Taliban.
Yeah, that would be a quick fix to that. But we must look at what we endure in that country. What's that thing that would stand the test of time? As I raised initially, the fact of national interests of nations. United States of America is also a nation like every other nation. You understand? So probably the Taliban are the darling in town now. So you need to go deal with them, because I am so sure that they would have tested the capacity of the Afghanistan military force before even backing down on a deal with them. Before before Obama deal with Taliban, before the deal to withdraw, and Trump's deal, they set time to withdraw, and the final implementation of the withdrawal now. But the point now is that the Taliban would stay in their country. Institutions built over time, democratic institutions built over time, if indeed institutions were built, would test the strength of that time. But the other point is that we've seen a whole lot of elections. We saw 2 elections, that of what's his name?
Hamid Karzai,
and the other man, Ashraf Ghani. So the point is that sometimes democracy, when you look at institution and you see election, that does not really necessitate the fact that it's democratic. We have to separate the two. That North Korea owed elections does not really mean North Korea is democratic, because Iran owed election does not really mean Iran is democratic. So institutions that are within that country. Obama, I think that was the Cairo speech, emphasized the point of institution, that the institution must be strong and be able to stand against aspiration of individual and sect. Democracy should be a collective agenda. That's the point of it.
Iran is a theocracy. in the definition of political science, being led by a religious leader. The Ayatollah is supreme. His words are final. But again, indications that the Taliban were not truly defeated is here. Remember that bin Laden was pursued into Afghan mountains, but he survived by the whiskers. He escaped a massive hunt at Tora Bora, where the United States military team came close to killing him. That was when he escaped into Pakistan. The routing of the Taliban regime led to the emergence of Hamid Karzai as the head of the Afghan interim administration in December 2001. Though the Taliban and Al-Qaeda forces suffered severe damage from US, Britain, NATO bombardment, they were not annihilated. Some of them moved into Pakistan, while others remained within the borders of Afghanistan, from where they mounted guerrilla attacks at United States forces. Remember, in 2005, a four-man U.S. Navy SEAL was ambushed by Taliban fighters. A special forces chopper that arrived to rescue the SEALs was shot down, killing the 19 military personnel on board. Notwithstanding the resistance by the terrorists, the United States' initial military success was overwhelming. After the pulling down of the Taliban regime and the defeat of Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, the next theater for war on terror was Iraq. But in this interview granted to the BBC, Hamid Karzai told us that all was not well between the elites in Afghanistan and the American government.
I had a very good relationship with President Bush, and at those beginning years, there was not much difference of opinion between us, and we had not experienced what we experienced later on with the two administrations. The worsening of relations began actually in 2005, where we saw the first incidents of civilian casualties, where we saw that the war on terror was not conducted where it should have been, which was in the sanctuaries, in the training grounds beyond Afghanistan. Rather than that, the US and NATO forces were conducting operations in Afghan villages, causing harm to the Afghan people.
But don't you think it does get personal when they call you personally an unreliable leader?
Well, they tried to attack me in their media and also in their politics to weaken me and to weaken my resolve and to render me helpless in Afghanistan. It didn't happen. The Afghan people thought otherwise. But it's not that we don't want to have a relationship with them. We want to have a relationship with them. A relationship where Afghanistan is respected, the Afghan people are respected, the interests of the Afghan people are taken in mind, and the dignity of human life is considered worthy of attention. That's what we want. We are not trying to do things that runs counter to their interest. But their interest, the US Western interest, the pursuit of that interest in Afghanistan must not be at the cost of the interest of the Afghan people.
You've often been criticized for talking the tough talk with your own audience here in Afghanistan and appearing in public to talk the tough talk with the Americans. But at the end of the day, they'll do what they want.
Yes, they are able to do that because they have the means to it. We don't have the means to it. The only thing that we have is a voice, our voice, and that we use. Beyond that, we have no other means.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
DG,
yes.
That interview with Hamid Karzai was conducted when Hamid Karzai was president.
Yes.
So what can you take away from that interview?
Well, I think, I'm not sure whether I heard he said that the reason why they can't face the American was because they don't have the military strength or something.
They don't have the means to face America. You know, at that point it was clear that all was not well between the political elite in Afghanistan and the American government.
Yeah.
So he felt America was even oppressing them.
Yeah, and probably that's the reason why some years before we've been hearing of the Americans even negotiating with the Taliban. Yeah. So I think the collapse of this government is becoming clearer and clearer to us now. We can see that the Afghan people are open to a Taliban government. The Americans who we know were supporting the Afghan government have been negotiating with the Taliban. However, I think one of the things that the reason why America stepped into Afghanistan in the first place was national security. They did not want a situation where Afghanistan will continue to provide cover for terrorist attacks. It might be possible that in the days to come, the Taliban government might be able to work with the Americans along those lines, where they will say, okay, we'll run this government in our country, but we'll ensure that terrorist activities don't take place on our soil.
Fumi Bionolakbo, you heard Hamid Karzai there.
Yes, I did. But the point now is that we must understand the fact that a whole lot of allies have been betrayed while reaching out to the Taliban. As much as America would want to play safe here, that let's go deal, let's have a new friend, let's exchange hands of friendship to the Taliban. We must understand that India is there. India is democracy. And a whole lot of countries in Central Asia, Pakistan, the safety of Pakistan, and the future of Afghanistan will be closely monitored by those people. That what will be the security impact of that fallout in that region on the state stability of those other countries. Just like it will be good we even localize this within the Nigerian context. For instance, anything in the Sahel, any threat to the Sahel is a direct threat to Nigeria. So the point is that Afghanistan will need to stand, and the political elite will need to be conscious of the fact that as much as they deal with the American government, America has a national interest. We've seen instances whereby states looked away from genocide even happening in countries. And we saw Rwanda as a case study. That countries, we saw that country go down within 100 days. More than 10% of that population went down with that genocide. So we need to start paying attention to the humanitarian side of that conflict. What would happen in the days ahead? As much as we understand that America may go in with the Taliban, how does the Taliban work? Are they ready to improve on their operational models? Would they accept the people? Would they accommodate them to also determine their future, so to say?
Women are already demonstrating in Afghanistan, defending their right to education, their right to work, and their responsibility to society. Michael Olufemi Oyebode says, Edmund, I hope you saw the pictures of PMB's son's wedding. All those supposed opponents and enemies of PMB were all present, and I can deduce that Nigerian politicians are all hypocrites. I hope the Nigerian populace can learn from those pictures. Politicians in Nigeria can never be enemies. They all have common objectives, and that's to obtain power. But should they be enemies? Why do we want people to be enemies? Because you play politics, we will not be enemies. Let's assume my brother is PDP tomorrow, I'm APC, we will not become enemies. I don't agree with your argument. Politics is not war. Yes, Buhari is celebrating. Atiku can be there. It's not war. Okay, that we disagree on opinion means you now hate me? So let's please understand these issues. What about if I move from PDP to APC tomorrow? You think they don't cross carpet in America? Perhaps I will bring you a history of great politicians that moved from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. So these things are not just exceptional to Nigeria. Please, let's allow political leaders to be friends. It's even better when they are friends. Because we're having too much enemies. I'm tired of the quarrels. Let's be friends. Before we go, let me raise some questions on what has just happened in Afghanistan. Remember, the competing forces in the Middle East operating within the Shia-Sunni divide Saudi Arabia sides with Israel in the effort to check Iranian nuclear ambition. This on its own weakens Arab solidarity. In 2013, Saudi Arabia, in protest against U.S. reluctance to tip the balance of power in the Middle East in its favor, refused to accept a UN Security Council seat. It threatened to take its military destiny in its hand if Iran is allowed to develop nuclear weapon technology. The crisis in Syria and Yemen have also pitted Shia forces supported by Iran against Sunni ambition championed by Saudi Arabia. Iran challenges the rule of monarchies and calls for Islamic revolution to topple monarchical elements in the Middle East, replacing them with theocratic administrations. Meanwhile, before the recent victory of the Taliban in Afghanistan, Iran and the United States shared urgent strategic interest, including the neutralization of the Taliban. With regards to the Middle East, questions arising from the Taliban takeover of power includes: is the Taliban a shared threat to Iran and Saudi Arabia? Will Saudi Arabia and Iran bridge the gap between them after years of feud over issues in the Middle East to check the Taliban? Is the Taliban recent victory capable of spreading chaos in Central Asia and the Middle East? To what extent will the Taliban extremist ideologies based on radical form of Sunni Islam, like barring women from schools and work outside the home, affect the modernizing agenda in Saudi Arabia, a Sunni-dominated state that recently started breaking away from old Islamic tradition that limits women's participation in society? Before 9/11, Saudi Arabia had recognized and supported Taliban-controlled government in Afghanistan. After 20 years, will Saudi Arabia toe its old line? How will the new atmosphere in Afghanistan affect the proxy wars being fought by Iran and Saudi Arabia in Yemen and the political turmoil in Lebanon? A power vacuum has been created in Afghanistan by the pullout of the United States. How will the scrambling to fill the void play out? The United States plans to pull out of Iraq too. Will this plunge the Middle East into further chaos and mounting uncertainties? What are the roles of China and Russia. Will this worsen the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that has been a major destabilizing force in the Middle East? Take note, Iran and Saudi Arabia cut ties in 2016 after Riyadh executed a prominent Shiite cleric. It's likely that the Taliban takeover will re-energize radical Islamist movement in Central Asia and the Middle East. That is my conclusion. Fumi B. Onolakwo, thank you for featuring on State Affairs.
It's always a pleasure to come discuss politics with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Fumi B. Onolakwo